right, sorry about that. I was trying to go live with my phone, and it was not working so well. Can you hear me okay? Please let me know. Let's see. Can you hear me? All right, let me see here. All right, cool. So this kind of spur of the moment, I just thought I actually got done a little earlier than I expected with something I was doing. You know, my channel's grown quite a bit here lately, and all right. Oh, good. Glad you guys can hear me. Normally I use my phone and I can't use the mic, but if you hear me good, then we're good. Excuse me. So I'd like to get an idea of who I'm talking to, and as much as where are you at? What investment level are you? Are you just starting? Do you already own a home? Maybe you guys could just chime in and say, you know, you own a home, or, you know, your age, and maybe, or something like that. And I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter what age. I was really, really lucky that I felt, I mean, I was interested in real estate. I was a poor kid. I was interested in wealth early. And I just was self-employed when I was 19, and I needed to rent a place, and it ended up turning into something that I was buying. And you know, it just was a big eye opener then, and it's been nothing but fun ever since. And you know, I'll tell you what I did is, you know, this COVID thing going on, what it kind of taught me is that I can retire. I think I'm ready, because I've had to take it easy, and I don't normally take it so easy. It's one of the reasons you guys have seen me so much, and some of you just found out about me. I've had time to play with it. So, okay, good. So, okay, we got Corey from Dallas, 24, wholesaling. Now, wholesaling, what does that mean? You assign deals? Or, I mean, I used to just call it just either I'd assign a deal, or I would, you know, I'd buy it and flip it. Or, you know, I would actually take title and I'd resell it. So when people say wholesaling, I get a little bit lost. It's not the terminology I've been using. Okay, you're assigning deals. Okay, that's cool. That's a good way to do it. You know, my first deal I assigned, I made $20,000. And it was all purely by accident. You probably know already. Yeah, okay, so on vacation rental market like Hawaii, I'd tell you right now, I wouldn't do anything. And I can tell you right now, Hawaii, I've been to Hawaii probably 30 times. I like Hawaii a lot. But it follows the California market. It just does. I can't tell you why, but it kind of does. And forever, you know, you can buy condos and houses that are pretty reasonable, to be quite honest. You know, when I say houses, I mean just houses. All right. From Denmark. Awesome. What's it? Hush to May? I get one of my best buddies. Let's see. I read your book. Oh, good. Yeah, you know, and so like Giovanni, I appreciate that. Believe me, I have a lot of people that follow me that are realtors. A lot of people have preconceived ideas that realtors know a lot. And I'm nothing against you, Giovanni, but you know that's not true. And I'm not saying about you, but you know it's not true about everybody in your office. And that's okay. So do we have mostly people here? You know, I've been a little bit harsh on some of these gurus or whatever you want to call them. You know, I don't like misinformation. I don't like, you know, I just don't like, I really have a problem with people taking people that are less knowledgeable and leading them down the wrong path. Because when you're in your 20s, what you do is so critical. I can tell you, every dime I've invested has made more money since I was 19 years old. People that, you know, take a lot of money. What I can share, I know it's worth a lot of money. But the people that I see selling information really are some of the least qualified. They're good salesmen, and I don't like them preying on people's, they prey on people's hopes, and they prey on people's trust. And I always say, don't trust anybody. Be super skeptical. You just can't really trust, unfortunately, you just can't trust anybody that can make money off you, and I don't feel that way about my book because it's only $10, but that's how I feel. So, and I'm trying to get a read on everybody that's here. Okay, we got a couple guys that are assigning deals. So how much, have you made much money, Corey? What's an average assignment deal worth to you? What are you making? If you could share that. Or anybody that's doing, assignments, what's the average deal? I mean, I can tell you, for me, the average, first deal I ever did was $20,000, and that was like over 30 years ago. And of course, that's had me excited back then because I didn't have any money back then. Now, I'm usually the one that pay. I pay my tenants, $5 grand, $10 grand. You'll hear about a restaurant. I'm going to shoot a video of a restaurant I bought a while back. I paid $750,000 for it, $50,000 down, and they carried the note for $700,000 at 3%. So the payment was only like $2,100 a month, really, really cheap. And so it was so easy for me to resell that property for like $200,000 more, about $180,000 more, because I had the financing already in place. That's one of the things about owner financing. If you go get the financing in place, you can sell the property, and somebody can take your position in that note that's secured by the first trustee, and it's a wonderful way to go. And when I first started, there was actually just a couple of loans left out of FHA. FHA loans used to be assumable. So I could go find a person that had a property for sale that originally had FHA financing. And I could pay them, and they could take a second for maybe 10 grand, and I would assume they're first. It was legal then because they didn't have what's called an alienation clause. An alienation clause is a due on sale clause. Basically, it means if you sell the property, they can't assume your note. You have to pay the note off. Some people do wraparounds, and but they can call it the note if you do that. Hey, while you're on here, everybody thumbs up, please. If you like the show, they got 50 people watching. Do a thumbs up if you would. Anyways, so I really want to help the most people I can. Do you recommend the BR strategy? I'm telling you, I get questions like that. The BRR strategy. I don't know what the BRR strategy is. Yeah, what I would tell you about right now is that we don't really know where the bottom is. So we've had this bailout. Look, and I have like about 100 tenants or so, and I had tenants that were struggling that called me, and I'd say, well, look, you got to have some sweat equity here, something in the game. And if they couldn't pay me their full rent, they'd send me $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, and others could pay because they're healthy. But all of them had gotten the bailout, the PPP program. And so many of them have been calling me just actually today saying, hey, I'm sending you a check for, a month and a half's rent because they're behind a month and a half. So that's fine. So I'm healthy. I haven't lost that much money. I actually have lost some money in as much as I had some people that were just about to rent from me, and then they backed out because there was no sense them renting from me. They'd be shut down. So I'm expecting that to pick up again soon. So I would tell you right now, what may seem like a good deal right now may not be a very good deal right now. So I would just tell you, don't buy anything right now. Unless I say that because I don't know how savvy you are. But, 20% off a deal a month ago or 2 months ago, that might be full price today, okay? Things have probably taken a 20% hit. And believe me, I don't like it. I have 6 houses for sale that are for sale on average from $330,000 to $600,000. And, I'm waiting a little bit. but I may be taking 100, houses in that $600,000 category, and I may be taking 60 grand off those houses that are, 330. And it's okay. And I'll tell you why it's okay. Because if the values have gone down 20% on what I'm selling, then it's gone down 20% on whatever I'm going to buy. And when you're at my level of investor, what happens is you get lots and lots and lots of solicitations of commercial buildings, industrial buildings. We're talking stuff that's 2 million to say 15 million. And they'll say, 6% cap, which I don't even like. It should be, 5% cap. Like if it was a chain starting to cut their prices. That's the only reason they can promise a higher cap rate today than they did 2 months ago. It means the price went down on what they're asking. Now, the problem with that is you got to look at the tenancy. Within the tenancy of that building, they may have people that are drastically affected by this COVID thing. Give you an example. Bottom line is we don't know who's going to survive it. As far as business goes, there are some businesses going to be hurt. And so when there's less people working, less people buying, that means the houses also are going to take a hit because there's not as many buyers. In fact, there becomes more sellers because people are affected that have to sell. And it's just a chain reaction that brings things down. So I'm trying to get ahead of that. And if you already own my book, go to chapter 27. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing chapter 27. Oh, it's buffering. I'm sorry. Are we still, should we just kill it? I apologize why the internet's so bad, but it is. If I get to my studio, if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, and you'll get messages like when something like this is going to come up quicker. But I have a studio. I bought a studio. You guys will see it. If you go to Instagram, you'll see a picture of it. Okay, I'll stay on as long as it's good. I really hate making a rough video, so if you can hear me, then we'll hang out. If it gets too bad, let me know. So I can ramble on about what I know and what I've got to say, or you guys can ask some questions. But for now, what I would just tell you, because I'm just telling you like I tell any friend, just wait. Even houses that I have some houses that I'd be willing to sell to friends, but I would be cutting the prices drastically to closer to what I paid for them. Not some of them not, but the ones that I bought in the last year, I bought probably 6-7 houses in the last year. Some of these ones that I'm selling, for $500,000-$600,000, I bought those for $110,000, $120,000, and some of these were like 10 years. But I bought those because I bought this for my kids. I thought I was going to sell it to them, but now they're kind of too valuable for them. I have 2 kids in college. One's about to get out. Then I got 2 boys that are 16, and they're actually more interested in the stock market, which I know nothing about. And they've been trading and getting their skills at that. Okay, does having a pool add value? You know what? It just depends if you're a pool person. If you're a pool person, you want a pool. I love pools. I spent a lot of money putting in the one that you see behind me. And I bought a house recently that's got a pool, and I didn't love it. And it cost me about $125 a month just to keep the chemicals up in the pool. Then if the tenant doesn't take care of the pool, it gets mucky in that. And then I have to have the pool service come up and really do their thing, shock it and whatever. And then I have to get upset with my tenant and tell him to take care of it. So in all honesty, depending on the neighborhood you have, you almost want to just take care of the lawn care. Tell them, give them the rate that they're going to rent it for, and then say, by the way, I charge another $40 a month, and I take care of mowing the yard. Even if it costs you $80, just do it, because then at least you won't piss off the neighbors, and you'll take care of the place. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, real estate is better than the stock market, I believe. And I saw somebody recommending the stock market the other day. And again, it's somebody who didn't know what the hell they're doing. The advantage of real estate is you can take 10 grand and you can buy something that cost 100 grand. So you get the benefit of the appreciation on 90,000 borrowed dollars, and it's a fairly it's a very stable product, real estate. Okay, I mean a building and that sort of thing. Now land, I'll tell you right now, land is fine to buy and flip. I flipped a lot of land when I was young, and I made a lot of money. I created a lot of notes. Had about $10,000 a month coming in when I was 28 years old. It was a lot of money. And this is a long time ago, okay? It'd be like getting probably $30,000 a month now. Anyways, but the land, you got to be careful because, and I want you to remember, this is a really good thing to hear, okay? When things go down, the value isn't coming out of the structure, okay? The value is coming out of the land. In fact, you'll see properties for sale that are, when things are like in a depression, a recession or whatever you want to call it, when things get really down, you're going, I mean, I've bought properties that cost less than it would cost to build the building, okay? So that means the land is worth zero. It's actually worth negative, okay? Because it's all coming out of the land. And so if you're holding a vacant lot here, and you're holding a house on a lot here, and you sell a $300,000 home for 200 grand, and the construction cost is 200 to build the structure. Well, this lot is almost worth nothing now, because why would you build a house on here? Why would you pay 50 or 100 and build a $200,000 home here when you can buy a 200,000 or what was a $300,000 home here and everything's done? So land is not the game for everybody. I love it. I've done a lot of it. I bought 52 acres for $205,000. I sold it for $2.8 million. And now that I've got if you get a chance, watch a video I have. It's called 5.5 million or something like that. And basically, it's just one investment that started with about 50, 60,000, and today it's I don't know, with COVID, it's still 5 million, I'm sure, but it's now 5 million. It's now worth $5-6 million. Maybe only 5 now because of the problems we're having. But okay, yeah, oh yeah. So yeah, see, someone's talking about their uncle, was broke suddenly. I've never really understood, and it's because I'm careful. But I never understand these guys that say, "Oh, I lost everything. Oh, I lost everything." I think, how on earth do you make millions of dollars and then lose everything? And I still kind of feel that way. Now, don't get me wrong. I've had some losses, but I could never lose everything. I mean, even this hit that we're having right now, if I have way more vacancies than I have, I can still sustain. I'll get by. But it's because I'm careful. But I don't put all my eggs in one basket either. Sorry, reading here. Well, you know what? I don't know about avoid Section 8. I'm not going to say that's true because now Ben Mala, I'm a fan of Ben Mala. I really don't know that much about him. I did a thing on him. But Ben Mala, I think he made all of his money through Section 8 housing. I mean, he says it. He government housing, the government, and you can see even if it was a slum, the government is paying the bill. They're paying the bill, so the income is rock steady. So I wouldn't. And I had a HUD home. I've had a HUD property before. The tenant was a Fruit Loop. He was nutty as hell, but the rent came in every month. It's just the truth. Okay. Somebody asked me about investing in storage units. The only time I've ever looked at buying storage units was with the idea that I was going to rebuild them into industrial buildings. And I saw somebody do something. I don't want to have to call somebody because they owe me $35. I don't want $35 a month rentals or $50 a month rentals or $100 a month rentals. And that's what storage represents. There's also a lot of responsibility with storage. If they don't pay you, you got to set up the buildings. Usually they're real squatty and short. But if I saw someone that had an opportunity to buy a small, I had an opportunity. Yeah, bad buffer. I see it. Somebody tell me when it's good again. Yeah, bad connection still. All right. Well, listen, if it gets too bad, let me know. All right. Yeah, it's unstable. Yeah, hey, my feelings aren't hurt. If you can't hear me, it's okay. All right. Are we good again? Looks like we might be good. All right. Okay, what I was saying about storage units were usually they're short and they're not practical. They're only I don't want to have $100 a month tenant. And that's what storage is. Lots of $100 a month tenants. And because it's the same work. The other thing is if somebody abandons their junk, you have to sit on it for 3 months and then sell it again. So I don't like that stuff. I just don't like it. But an opportunity that I missed, I could have bought a little storage place, an old one. And what I missed was I came back and I talked to the guy and I just couldn't make sense of the deal. I just wanted to turn it into, a building rental. Well, I came back there and what somebody did is they got a remodel permit and they made the building twice as tall as it was. I mean, maybe 3 times taller. It only looked like it was about 8 feet high. Now it looked like it was 20 feet high. And what he did is he just went right over the lot, over the slabs, and he made the building twice as high. And I could look in, he put a big roll-up door, he had a forklift, and it was a little narrow for a building, but he had tons of storage. So he really kind of did something. He turned it more into an industrial building. In fact, I have 8,000 square feet of warehouse I'm trying to rent out right now. And I'll show you that later. You guys have seen in my warehouses before if you watch me very long. All right, so we got Alan from Boston. So for now, I would say just hold off. I'd be real careful with land. Land, like I say, when things go down, it all comes out of the land. It just all does. It just all comes out of the land because you can buy buildings for less than they cost to build. So it all comes out of the land. What are your real estate fantasies? How do you see yourself as an investor? What exactly do you want to do? Do you just want to? I can tell you the normal progression. I think for success is the recipe is especially when you don't have a lot of money, or $1 million, let's say, okay, less than $1 million. If you have less than $1 million, and that's I'm just throwing that out for now. So I'm saying if you have zero, whatever, you got to build up what you got, right? And I did this Chris Crone video thing, and he was talking about what to do with $1,000. Of course, he never told anybody, but I told you what to do. And I told you, if you have $1,000, buy things. See, used items are the only thing that can be paid for completely. So with used stuff, and all real estate's used, right? Almost every house, every building you see, somebody else owned it before. It's used. So anything that's used and that's 100% paid for, lesson, but most people don't understand this and don't think it through. And anything used you can buy for less than it costs new. And it's because it's already paid for. Well, real estate's the same way. You can get a really good deal on a piece of real estate if somebody owns it outright. And so if you're not at that level where you're comfortable or for whatever reason you don't want to buy real estate, you can go buy a forklift for a fraction of what it's worth. You can buy a diamond ring for a fraction of what it's worth and resell it. In fact, the thing to think about with something like a diamond ring as opposed to a forklift is a forklift weighs, a ton or 2 tons, and it's big and it's not that valuable. So you might concentrate, if you're going to buy and sell and flip things, you might consider things. I don't know anything about diamonds. I don't know anything about gold. I don't know anything about watches. But if I did, that's what I'd concentrate on, because I like the idea that I can, I'm buying something I can put in my pocket that's worth thousands of dollars. Maybe I buy a $2,000 watch for $500. Now I can turn around and sell it for $1,500. Now I don't know anything about watches, but I know they're very expensive, some of them. So if you have that kind of knowledge, or if you take time to get that kind of knowledge, that you can look at a diamond and know what it's worth, that's great power. It's like me. I can look at real estate and I know instantly, very, very quickly, oh, that's a deal, that's not. And it's that advantage that I know what's a deal instantly that gives me an advantage over everybody else, because I can say, okay, let's sign it up. I'll give you a check right now. Let's do it. Because when you hesitate, somebody else is going to come in and take you out. That's how it works. And so that's something to consider. If you want to play with non-real estate stuff right now, which isn't a bad time because people are going broke, they're probably selling their things. I bought last time in 2008 when we had the bank crisis. I bought I always wanted a 550 SL Mercedes, and I'm a pickup guy more than anything. But I thought, you know what, I deserve something nice, So I went and bought that 2-seater car, and somebody paid $105,000. That was a really good deal. But that's right now, the way things are right now, you're going to find opportunities to buy cars, because the number one convertibles, I remember reading this a long time ago, when things turn into a little recession like they are right now, it's those toys like a convertible or a fancy car. Those are the first to go. They get rid of the car they don't need, and it's usually a 2-seater like a convertible. So there's opportunities to buy stuff, maybe watches too. I don't know. I'm not a watch guy. I never wore a watch, to be honest. Don't even wear rings, Somebody's asked me about mineral rights. No, I really haven't, Yeah, like Papa Red said, focus on your expertise area. And there's here's a great analogy for you. Okay, look, I know a lot about machine shop. I own a machine shop. I have a company. I make movie making equipment too. So I know machines. I know mills and lathes and stuff like that. So I was looking for a lathe, and I was wanting to steal it. I always want a deal. So I'm looking at lathes. I'm looking at them all over the country. And then I find one, the lathe that I once cost $50,000-$60,000 new. I'm trying to find a used one for $10,000. And finally I find one for $6,000, and I order it, and it's coming to me from Michigan or somewhere. Well, then there's a sale in my own town. I see on Craigslist, and I go over there, and there's the exact lathe that I wanted with a ton of tooling. The tooling can be worth more than the lathe, okay? These are the cutters and things that go on the machine. I bought that thing for $3,000. It was better than what I had coming, right? And so when the one got here that I paid $6,000 for, I already had the other one that I paid $3,000 for set up. And so when the one that came in for $6,000, I went and sold it for $10,000, okay, and just made $4,000, which paid for the one that I had sitting there. But my point is this: think about when you buy a car. You take all this time to analyze the market and figure out what's a minivan going for, whatever you're looking for. And then you find one for $6,000. Well, you buy it, and now you got a great deal. Well, why throw it all the way there? Why throw it all the way there? You can keep looking, because you just became an expert on that model car of what it's worth, and it's going to sell quickly for $12,000. So why stop with the first one that you got for yourself for $6,000? And this goes for your home too. You look and you buy your home. Well, you become an expert if you really take time and do your due diligence at what something's worth. So now, since with that knowledge that you have researching, in my case, lathes, or somebody else that's researching a first-time home, their first home, don't stop. Keep looking. After you get what you want, just keep looking. Just keep looking. And then when you get something that's a deal again, buy it and flip it. It's just common sense, right? Sorry, it's windy. Oh Paul, man, I can't answer your question. My bank called me. Paul's wondering why he can't borrow, get a couple million against several $1 million worth of real estate. I have no idea, Paul. My bank called me today and apologized because they kind of dragged their feet because I'm looking to borrow $1.8 million against a $3 million asset that I have that's paid for. And that's in order to do a reverse 1031, which I won't get into it now. You guys will see what that is when I do it. So let's see. Okay, the DJ2's got one here. Hey, Tom, as a first investment, what's your thoughts on getting a property to rent out the rooms individually to help pay the mortgage? It doesn't appeal to me now at my stage, but I mean, if you were a student and you could buy a place and you could rent 3 rooms out, I mean, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, listen, here's the deal. Unless you're already rich, I don't think you want to buy. I didn't live in the first 5 houses that I bought. I didn't live in any of them. They were too shitty. So I was buying them to flip them and make money. And that's what I did. I bought them. And so don't get emotional about a home. You don't have to live in your property. You know, the typical thinking is, oh, I'm going to get a duplex and live in one side, right? That shouldn't be your criteria. Your criteria should be, I'm going to get something way under market and I'm going to sell it for close to what market is. And I'm going to make that money. Or I'm going to get a really good deal lined up to buy and I'll have somebody I'll assign it to. Don't get lost in if you go buy a duplex or you buy something like you're talking about, and then the market goes down further, now you're stuck. Now you're upside down in a deal. And now you got, you know what I mean? You can't get rid of it. It sucks. You don't want to be in a position of not being able to get rid of something. Because I call it the tail wagging the dog. I want to wag my tail. I don't want the tail wagging me. And that's what it's going to feel like is when your assets are, they're taking every bit of life out of you to hang on to them. And I've been tight before. And you just feel like you're being wagged around like, oh, I got to go find money. I got to go do this. I got to take care of stuff. So let's see. Hey, Tom, how do I find zoning boundaries? Yeah, the city. Go to the city. If you want to know what something's zoned, and you can look it up online now too. Let's see. Questions. How do you lead into a conversation to purchase a property? I introduce myself with a big smile. And I say, do you own the place? And then I start talking to them. Always be nice to people. And here's another thing. Don't pick stuff apart. I mean, it's the dumbest thing ever. Go in and say, hey, I'm interested in your property. Boy, that looks terrible. Gee, why is that broken? I mean, it's the stupidest thing you can do. People do it, and I love that they do it because I come in and I say, hey, this has got great potential. This is beautiful, and just it's silly to insult the person you want to buy something from. All right. Okay, I had to hide a dipshit. Sorry. All right, and what else? Okay, Tom, you're 23 years old. Any tips for finding CRE? What is that? Creative real estate? I don't know what a CRE is. Okay, well, okay, look, Papa Red here. Tell me what is commercial real estate. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. Anyways, no, it's simple. You got an advantage. Here's another thing you should consider. I was broke, but I was self-employed. Now, the advantage that gave me is that when somebody called me and said, hey, I dropped the phone and sign it. I'm the first one there. Believe me, being the first one there is super important. The only thing better or the next best thing is being the second one there and be there just waiting for number one to screw up. And believe me, I've made millions of dollars on deals by being second. And the guy in front of me that had the deal couldn't make it happen, or he fell out, or he got scared because he didn't know enough. He didn't know what the value was. Your advantages are knowledge, okay? It's like, I do jujitsu and I stay in pretty good shape. And I like jujitsu. I really do like jujitsu. But before that, I ran, and I hate running. I don't run because I love running. I do it for the results, okay? And two, I don't necessarily like studying the market, but I do it because I like the results, because I can walk in and go, I'll take it. And not everybody can walk into a property and say, how much? And go, you know what? I'll take it. Let's sign it up. Because they got to, oh, okay, well, let me check with the wife, or, whatever. And then they go do the research, and then they lose it. Okay. Sorry, man. I'm trying to read this stuff. Okay, 10K good credit. Interested in? I can't tell you. That's too complicated, Jorge. Well, you can write me on that one. Just write me. I can't really judge a deal. You can say, hey, it's a great deal, $44,000. I don't know if it's a horrible neighborhood or not. I don't. And that's another thing. I tell a story, back in the 80s, I was in Compton. I didn't live there, but I went to Compton because there was a tax sale. And we're talking rough. You've seen the movie, Something in Compton. It's where a lot of the rappers were coming out. It's a rough son of a gun. There at the roughest time, okay? And I remember going down there, and we looked at a house, and we actually pulled the gun out from the under the seat to go in and look around. It was so scary. And, it was just, I was like, oh my God. I wouldn't buy it for 10 grand, and it was a tax sale. And so, but I kept an eye on that property, and it sold for $75,000. And the woman that bought it, a gal, I think she lived next door in the neighborhood, she paid cash for it. So my point is this. Here, this was truly a ghetto, okay? Know where you want to live. I don't think. Most people don't. And I heard it's better now. But it still has value. So that's why I say, don't say, oh, I want to move into a duplex. It doesn't matter. Every property has value to somebody. It might be because, it can be a junkyard. It has value to somebody. And even a dump in Compton has value. Somebody will rent it. Maybe it's because their kids live in the neighborhood, or their mother lives in the neighborhood, and they have to, people make those kinds of decisions to stay there or live in an area because that's where their family is. It's where their family is. So these are things that just to consider, not that you want to, go to a tough area. I personally do not. So let's see what else. Yeah, I know I got some serious wind behind me. I had to move. Hopefully it's not too loud, but palm tree was really blowing hard, whipping around. Okay, when do you expect the real estate market to bottom out? You know what? I don't think anybody can tell you for sure, but with this type of thing, the knowledge base of been doing this for a lot of times is it's going to go down. It's going to go down some. I don't know exactly how far. We've had a really strong. Damn. I think we got a bad connection, so I'm holding off. Okay, I think you guys can hear me now. Somebody say yes. Are we good? Can you hear? Okay. All right. Back to my prediction. What I know is this. When people aren't working, values go down. And guess what? Right now, people aren't working. And now we're going to come back and recover, but you got restaurants that can only employ 25% of their staff because they're only allowed 25%. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. Yep, I know you can hear me now. I get a little indicator telling me. So when I do this, that just means I'm taking a break because I know you can't hear me. Oh, hey, we got win-win on here. All right. Okay, so right now people aren't working, and this is what happens. People can't work. They can't buy anything. They're unemployed. Okay, the banks get nervous too. They get nervous about lending to people because they're worried about, oh, are you going to get laid off like a lot of other people? So the banks tighten up. So now, then what happens when you can't work? What do? You sell your home. Okay, so now you sell your home and you want to save your credit, and so you lower the price. It ruins it for guys like me that are selling homes right now. So now I'm competing with a guy that just wants to save his credit and get out because he can't make the payments. That's what happens. More comes on the market. So yeah, it's good for you looking to buy a deal, and me too, because I'm still looking to buy deals. But I'm going to wait for the bottom. So I think 4 to 8 months. 4 to 8 months. In 4 months, you're going to get an idea of how fast the recovery is going to be. We've had a really strong economy. Our economy's never been better in probably 50 years. In my lifespan, I've seen some really tough stuff. In high interest rates. You know, it's to be almost 15% on a loan to buy a house, if you can believe that. Right when I was getting into real estate, that's kind of how high it was. It was coming down from that. The first home that I ever bought, I got a 9.25% interest rate. And because I opened a bank account at the bank, they dropped it to 9 1/8. And I was thrilled. I mean, I was just thrilled to have a house. But that same place today, you can buy, 3% interest or 2.5% interest. So again, did you guys hear my prediction now? Walcrow, you said start over. I did. Okay. So Raphael, here's the deal. That's a good question, and I'll tell you why. Raphael just asked, what's my perspective on investing in multifamily versus industrial? Okay. Well, first let me just talk about multifamily. I've owned multifamily apartments, made a lot of money on them. Here's the problem with multifamily. It can be very expensive. There's carpet, a lot of carpet, okay? Every time somebody moves out, you got to clean it or throw it out and put in new. I had a kid or somebody flushed a washcloth down a toilet. The sewage backed up. It flooded 7 units. 7. And that's feces and sewage on the carpets, okay? I had to replace all the carpet. It was like a $20,000 week, and then guess what? It happened again. About 3 weeks later. Okay, so multifamily can be a real pain in the ass. The other thing is, with kids in multifamily, they put their pencils all over the wall. The laundromats. You have a laundry. Usually I have 2 laundromats. There are 3 laundromats in the units that I had, and that's why I know quarters. $22 a pound. If a pound of quarters is $22.50, because that's how I'd have so many quarters, I'd weigh them. That's how I knew how much money I had. But back to my point is, so with an apartment, you have a lot of upkeep. With industrial and commercial, it's not so much, because somebody loses a job, they're going to sit in their apartment until you kick them out. Somebody goes out of business, they're just going to leave. So you can immediately, put the for rent sign and rent out that property. But with a place where somebody lives, they're down and out. They don't want to leave. They don't answer the door. They sneak in and out. So it's not as good a deal that way. And when something, like I say, sewage goes up in the floor, if it's an industrial property, it doesn't matter. It's concrete. If it's a commercial property and it's your fault, then you might be replacing a floor. I've done some of that. I've had to replace floors for that very reason. So overall, I'm done with apartments personally. A buddy of mine just sold a place. This is interesting. He doesn't know. He might have even sold it to Grant Cardone. I don't know. But he sold a place for $6 million in Texas. And he was nervous because the coronavirus news was out. It was already out. And he's waiting to close it. And I think they try to get another 30 grand off or something, you know, and he's a little bit pissed off, but he just let it go and let him have it. Well, believe me, he's smiling now because he sold it for $6 million and had 90% occupancy, and now it has 70% occupancy. Okay, so again, that can happen with any kind of property, anyways. And it's a buddy of mine. I'm going to have him on the show sometime. Real smart guy. I've known him for many, many years, and he does the same thing I do. He's a little older. He started for me. All right, so Melbourne, Australia, looking at real estate in the U.S., and it seems cheaper, better rents. Yeah, you know, I can't. You know, every area is different. You know, some of the states in the USA tax 2 or 3 times the rate of others. California, everybody screams and cries about how expensive California is. Well, the taxes are awesome. Their property tax rate is great. It's only like 1.1%. And if you own it for a long time, they don't keep up with the market. So you get a big gift if the longer you live in it. All right. Okay. Golly. All right. Bye-bye, Gina. There you go. Okay. All right, guys, let's see. 37 acres, and the taxes are great in California. I agree. All right. Bye-bye, Gina. Janitor, whatever. Okay, so what about leasing cell towers? You know what? I've never done it. Usually they buy the property from you and they pay you. They buy the patch, and or they take a big chunk and then they pay you for years. This is interesting. I mean, this is hard to believe, but cell towers may become obsolete, and I'll tell you why. Look up. This is really interesting. I can't remember what they called it, but it's the Tesla guy, Elon. I was sitting in the jacuzzi about 5 o'clock in the morning, about, I don't know, 8 weeks ago. And I'm sitting there kicking back early morning, just getting a nice jacuzzi. And all of a sudden I see what looks like a satellite or a falling star, but it's going too slow to be a star. It goes going by, and then there's another one, then there's another one. And pretty soon I'm looking at like 10 satellites in a perfect row. As they appear, now they're going so far across the sky that they're starting to disappear. Every time one disappears. And what that is Elon Musk, I forget what they call it, but I don't know what they call it, but he's got an approval for like 3,500 satellites. And what these things do is they rotate around the Earth. I mean, every bit of the Earth, a certain amount apart. They kind of, run kind of like 2 helicals around each other. And they communicate. But what it is it's for internet and phone. So they can communicate. So you're basically communicating off a satellite, and they're talking, it's taking your message all the way around the world and back. And it's doing it even faster than fiber optics because there's no interference whatsoever. Anyways, that's what I read about it. But something like that could take those cell towers out and they'd be useless. Another thing is signs. Cost about $50,000-$60,000 to put up a billboard, right? Well, think about this. Billboards, unless they're right in the middle of a city, as you get in the outskirts, the board I see says, your name could be here. Your business could be advertised, or advertising works. You're looking, but it's not working. People aren't looking anymore at billboards. They're looking at their cell phone, and they're driving right by them. And so those kinds of things you got to be careful of. So I think cell towers could be, dirt, nothing in the future for that reason. Again, when it comes to the properties, I'm asked, what is your number one type of property you would buy now with your knowledge? Well, I'm not even sure I want to share it because I'm looking for it right now. I'll give you a hint. I like medical. And some jackass took up a bunch of space, spam. Before you buy, do you get a home inspection? No, I do all my own inspections. I never hire anybody to inspect for me. Yeah, okay, Rodriguez, he's asked me what research do I do to establish market value or when something's below market value. You know what, get my book, but I'll tell you the short of it is I network, I talk to the agents, I look at what's for sale. The main way is you look at what's for sale, then you look at what's sold. If you look at what's gone up for sale and you look at what's sold, you'll have an idea of what property's worth. And I can tell you, in most neighborhoods that I look at, I know the value better than anybody, better than the appraisers or anybody else. In fact, appraisers call me all the time because they know I own so much property. They'll say, hey, what did you sell that for? What did you, and it's because when you're really immersed into a neighborhood, you will know it better than anyone. And that's how you should be in the areas that you're going to buy in. Have you ever worked jobs for gig economy? I don't know what gig economy is. Sorry. I know I'm getting old now. If you want to tell me what gig is, I'll figure it out. Looks like everyone is tucked in. Bartend. Hey, Win-Win, how do I calculate repair rehab? I just add it up. I try not to do it. People think I've done a lot of fixer-uppers, and you've seen these ones I've done I've just dressed up the outside. The only kind of fixing up I like to do is scrub the windows clean, give the place a paint job. That's all I want to do. Because if you go inside, as soon as you place a dishwasher, it makes everything else look like crap. It makes everything look worse. When everything's kind of dated together, it just looks kind of old but clean. But when you put something shiny and new, like a cool refrigerator, or all of a sudden you're going to feel like you need to paint all the cabinets. Then you paint them, and then you're going to feel like you need to rip the Formica off and put in, granite or stone. So I personally don't like fixer-uppers. And even if I buy a fixer-upper, people think, oh, I got a great deal on a fixer-upper. Well, you calculate the time that you're not going to have it rented, the time you're going to lose fixing it up. A lot of times it just doesn't pencil. So when I get a fixer-upper, let's say I get a property that is a great deal, it's 70 grand, and it's and the houses are worth 120. I'm going to only pay 50 for it, and I'm going to sell it to you or somebody like you that wants a fixer-upper for 70. You can have it. I just want to make some money on the deal, and that's another thing. One of my old, I call him a mentor. It's not like he taught me much other than I admired him, but he would always say, you can't get hurt taking a profit. In fact, I sold him a piece of land in one of my buildings, and he told me that when I sold it to him, I think. Yeah, Luke Tayev, man, we'll get into that later. That's kind of a big subject. So Papa Red, you said it's easier to get commercial funding. Is it true for a first-time buyer? Probably not. I think I've made the comment many times. It's easier to borrow millions than it is to borrow hundreds of thousands for a house. If you're going to borrow money to buy a house, I just pay cash for houses. I have lines of credit, or I just borrow money against something else that I have and pay cash, because I can't stand going through the routine that houses put you through. It's never been fun. They always need one more thing. And, they get really lost with me because I have so many, we call it limited partnerships. It's me and my family. I own all these partnerships, meaning my kids. The residential bankers are lost on that. Commercial bankers, they're more sophisticated. They don't care about, when you own apartments, when somebody moves out, they send the bill. They automatically put the bill back in the landlord's name, and then they start sending the bill to the apartment. Well, then it doesn't get paid. And then if you're the landlord, you start getting these black marks on your credit. They didn't pay his electric bill. At the commercial level banking, they don't care about any of that stuff. They know that I pay my bills and that I borrow millions of dollars and pay as agreed. So that's why it's easier. But not so easy probably for the first time guy. Loan to value ratio. Okay, crypto, that's a fair question. Yeah, so crypto wrote, what is your loan to value ratio for your portfolio? What do you consider over leverage? Where I'm at now, my loan to value, I probably don't even own 25% anymore. That's why, once in a while, I'll buy a property 100%. You can bet I have 25% equity. I think we have a bad connection again. Are we good again? Did everybody understand what I said about loan to value? Well, I'll just say it again. The loan to value ratio, even if I borrow something and I get it 100% finance, just because that one property is 100% finance doesn't really matter, because my overall portfolio, I probably owe less than 25% on everything. But you got to remember, that's not how it always was for me. I was a big leverage guy. I would just flip and flip and flip and flip. And then when I finally started buying things that I wanted to hold on to, like I held a piece of land for a long time, that cost me, I paid a few $100,000, and then the taxes pretty soon were $30,000 a year, $2,500 a month just on a piece of land, but it was worth it. And I held it for many years. But you got to just look at you have to flip. You have to flip to get the cash so that you can buy. If you want to buy a shopping center or, an industrial property or some sort of or an apartment building, gives you a regular monthly return that you can live on. Maybe even in a few years from the time you start, and you still owe some money on it, and maybe you got a decent job and that you can even carry things with your job. You can get away with that. But really, every deal should stand on its own, especially when you're beginning. You need to be paid for it. Just common sense. You know what? How much do I pay to subdivide a lot? You know what? It didn't used to cost as much as it does now. I was looking at subdividing a property right now, and I'm talking about a single, what we call a lot line split. The lot line split used to be a simple subdivision. You just cut the lot in two, and they're talking $40,000 because there's all this BS they want to have you do, a tree survey, this, that, just stupid crap, make work for the government. I've never been in a rent control area. Happy to say I've never had rent control. Yeah, I don't like rent control. It doesn't appeal to me at all. It's going to make the value. Everything. That's the beauty. You're talking about the difference. Multifamily doesn't matter. But here's a problem between houses and commercial and industrial. Houses are an emotional purchase, and people buy those things for where's the school, where's this and that. So when you buy a house in a neighborhood as a rental, the chances are it's going to be a terrible return on value eventually, because the neighborhood will build up, the values will go up, but the rents won't keep up. The rents won't keep up with the taxes. And, so in other words, pretty soon it's going to be like when you first bought the property, you're making 10% a year on the value of the home. Well, as the home becomes more valuable, the rents don't keep up with that pace. So pretty soon you're going, gee, I own this house, I'm making 3% a year on what it's worth. And then that's when it's like, you've got to sell the place, which that's where I'm at with a lot of the houses that I had. Yeah, sorry about the lag, folks. My battery's probably about dead on this computer now, too. So I may have to cut it short here. Yeah, so, okay, Tom, wrote, Tom, what on your past flips, return on investment did you shoot for? Look, I think it's a $500 check tying up the property. And it looks like we got a problem again. No, we might be good again, I think. My point was, you asked what the return on investment on a flip. I don't want to do anything for a couple $1,000s, but if I can buy something and assign it to somebody else, usually I want to make 20 grand. But I mean, when I was younger, $5 grand would have been fine. It wouldn't have mattered. If all I'm doing is assigning it, getting a property tied up. That's the whole secret with assignments. You want to get in between what somebody has and what somebody wants. We're still doing okay on battery, surprising. I'm good for a little while. Okay, you guys like the late night? Hey, is everybody going? I don't have as many people on here as I do when I do other times, but you guys like the nighttime? It's good for me. I'm drinking, just getting ready for bed. Okay, what do you think to buy a small property management company? You know what? I can tell you, I was never I am a property manager of my own property. And I actually you'll see her eventually. I hired a new girl. She's actually worked for me for 10 years in one of my other companies, but she went off into real estate for about 18 months, and she got a really good dose of training in property management. So I called her the other day and I said, hey, what are you doing? And I just hired her back, and now she's coming to work for me. And because I want to kind of retire, and I realized with this COVID stuff that, I can take it easy. And I kind of enjoy it. And I enjoy what I'm doing right now. Mentoring, if you want to call it mentoring, is unpaid, but helping people make the right decisions and helping some of you not get screwed by some of this snake oil. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you taking time to listen. You don't like this time, Greg? I don't even know what time it is where you're at. Oh, you're on the East Coast. Yeah, it's a little early in the West. Cool. All right, well, good. Obviously, you're here. So we'll wrap it up here. So if you got another one, you can throw another question out. If there's something really feel like you want to hear me, say something to, I'll do it. But you know what? I want to build this channel. And so when you guys like things and thumbs up things, that helps. And when you comment, when I do the other videos, those comments helps the algorithm. I'm learning about this stuff. A lot of requests. The problem is I don't want to do it for just a handful of people. If I'm going to do it for 100 or 1,000 people. And I'm going to do it for what else? Okay, Papa, I'll look for that email. I get a lot of emails now, so I apologize, but I get a lot of emails now. Well, hey, Glenn, you got here a little late. I was just talking about vacant land. When things go to hell like they are, the land is what eats it all. You can have a house and it goes way. The structure's worth the same. In fact, the structure costs you just as much to build today as it did a year ago. The land, though, the land is what takes the beating. I would stay away from land right now unless you really, really are savvy or really know what you're doing. But I wouldn't touch land myself right now. Appreciate that, Jose. I don't like to spend that much time, though, to be honest. I mean, this is easy. Yeah, Casper asked a good question. I'll tell you the worst thing that's ever happened. He's asking about, is there something I never picked up? And I do my own inspection. I'll tell you what happened. I bought a house. It had all cast iron sewage piping underneath, which is okay. But the problem, the original, when it was built, it had a little sag in the pipe so it held water. Well, it ended up becoming it was a house built in the 70s. And then, of course, it craps out when I own it in about 2006. I had to literally cut paths from the bathroom to the kitchens, down the hallway to the side of the house. I had to re-sewer. I had to put in all new sewer, and I had to do it from the top. I had to cut out the slab to put all this stuff in. That was a horrible problem. That was a real pain in the ass. That was an expensive fix. Yeah, wall crawl. Will building leases turn to garbage with more people working at home? I don't know. I mean, believe me, it's hard to get any work done at home if you have kids at home like it is right now. But, you worry about that stuff. A friend of mine who was motivated to buy real estate because of me, successful guy, but not in real estate. He bought a $3 million building, and he was worried about when things got bad. And so he had his property management company go ask the tenant, and he has a tenant. One tenant took 80% of this building. And he had him go over. He was kind of, preempting, just being proactive, seeing what's up. And so they went over and they called the front desk at this tenant and said, "Hey, are you guys anticipating having problems?" And they go, "With what?" Okay. They were totally unfazed by this coronavirus thing. Now let me tell you why. They were a dialysis clinic. People have to have dialysis. If you go more than 3 days without dialysis, you're dead. Okay. So that company was bulletproof with this virus. They were going to be open, rain or shine, virus or not. They had to be open. They're life or death for other people. So that is a bulletproof business to this kind of situation. And believe me, that's why I told you guys earlier, I'm looking at medical. A lot of medical got hurt, though. All the doctors are doing phone calls. I have a hospital, I go to the doctor, and they don't even want to see something done the way it is. And all right. Hey, guys, I think it must be getting bad. We're starting to lose some viewers, too. But, hey, thanks for watching. Please follow me, and I'll try to deliver. And if you haven't got my book, I'm going to raise the price of my book. And have a great night, and we'll do it again soon. Thanks.